You know that feeling when you snag a cheap folding treadmill off a flash sale site, only to discover a wobble every time you try to jog, a motor that coughs out after a few weeks, and a belt that feels like you're running on a kitchen rug? That buyer's regret is the exact thing I wanted to avoid when I started looking at the Vitalwalk Foldable Treadmill. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The hesitation I felt wasn't about the price tag so much as the risk of ending up with a piece of equipment that looks great on the box, but turns into a daily annoyance in the living room. When I first scoped out home-use treadmills, the biggest red flag was the trade-off between footprint and performance. A lot of the budget models promise a tiny footprint, but hide a motor that can't sustain more than a casual walk, and the folding mechanisms can be finicky, making the whole thing feel like a temporary solution rather than a permanent fixture. On the other side of the spectrum, the high-end commercial decks deliver the durability you'd expect in a gym, but usually demand a dedicated space and a hefty investment. The Vitalwalk sits somewhere in the middle, and that middle ground is where the real question lives. Does it give you enough of the gym-like experience without the bulk and cost? Or does it end up being another compromise that leaves you wishing you'd spend a bit more? The first thing I noticed during the unboxing was the claim of no installation. The treadmill arrived in a single, well-packed box, and the folding frame unfolded with a single, smooth motion. There's no need to wrestle with bolts or call a handyman. You simply lift the deck, lock it into place, and you're ready to step on. That convenience is a real win for anyone living in an apartment or a small house where you can't afford to dedicate a permanent gym corner. The belt itself measures 49 by 18 inches, which is wider than a lot of the entry-level competitors I've tried, giving you a little extra room for a natural stride. For a typical commuter who wants to walk or jog while watching a show, that width eliminates the feeling of being cramped. The auto-incline feature is where Vitalwalk tries to differentiate itself. With the push of a button, the deck tilts up to a moderate gradient, adding an extra challenge without you having to manually adjust the incline knob. In practice, that means you can set a steady hill for a 20-minute cardio session while still being able to step off instantly if you need a break. The motor is a 3.5 HP brushless unit, which, compared to brushed alternatives, tends to be quieter and requires less maintenance. In my daily 30-minute runs, the motor stayed consistently quiet, and the belt didn't feel jittery even when I nudged it up to the 8 miles per hour mark. For a home user who values a low-noise environment, especially if you share walls with a bedroom or a home office, that brushless design is a practical advantage. But there are hidden trade-offs that become clear once you start using it day after day. First, the motor's 3.5 HP rating, while sufficient for brisk walking and light jogging, starts to strain if you push beyond 9 miles per hour for extended periods. I didn't run at sprint speeds, but friends who tried interval training reported that the belt would occasionally slip a fraction of an inch when they hit the top speed for more than a minute. That's a sign that the treadmill is tuned more for steady-state cardio than for high-intensity sprint work. Second, the belt length, though generous for most casual users, can feel short for taller runners. If you're 6 feet or more, you'll notice the need to adjust your stride slightly, which may affect your natural gait over longer sessions. The 350-pound weight capacity is impressive and covers a broad range of users, but the frame stability can feel a bit floaty when you're running at the higher end of the speed range. It's not unsafe, but you'll likely appreciate the extra confidence of a heavier-duty chassis if you're a serious runner. So, who should actually consider buying this treadmill? If you're a remote worker who wants to break up screen time with a 5 to 8 miles per hour walk, a parent looking to squeeze a quick cardio burst between chores, or anyone who lives in a tight space and values a fold-away design, Vitalwalk hits a sweet spot. The auto-incline can replace a separate hill workout, and the quiet brushless motor means you won't disturb household members. The wide belt and decent speed range make it versatile enough for both walking and light jogging, and the fact that you can set it up without tools is a huge time saver. On the flip side, if you're training for a marathon, prefer to do high-intensity interval sessions, or you're over 6 feet tall and need a longer stride, you might feel constrained. The motor's limits become apparent when you try to push the speed envelope, and the belt length may feel